please do introduce this turtle to us.
So the turtle we're drawing today is my turtle. Her name is Zephyr. She has a mate, and they're named after winds. And she's very smart. I've had her for, I don't know, 18 years or so.
18 years?
Yeah, she's going to outlive me.
Wow.
They live a very long time. She came in a police box from Virginia. And she has a little house in Cedar where she hibernates every winter. And it's got one part is flooring. I had it built specially. One part is flooring and one part is actually loose earth compost, which I kind of loosen in the fall so that she can bury easily. And then we fill it up with leaves. But anyway, she's very clever. The first time when I first put her in front of a house, she kind of went in there for the winter and hibernated there. And now every year she knows it's her house and she goes there by herself. She has a bath. She loves bathing every morning. And I was telling her a story about how she really likes me. But one year there was a baby bird, but had fallen out of a nest. And I was rushing out of the house. So I made a little nest for it in a flower pot, thinking I'd attend to it when I came back. But when I came back, Zephyr was eating it, to my complete horror. So I took the bird away from her. It was dead, and I think it had probably died already by the time she began eating it. But still, she had a mouthful of feathers, and it kind of looked a bit off-putting. So I buried the bird. And you know what? She sulked for years.
She was pissed about that.
Oh, yes, she was so. It took several years before she forgave me. I think I'm forgiven now.
Wait a minute. Why should she be forgiving you? Perhaps you should be forgiving her.
Well, but that's not how she sees it.
Oh, no, well, it's nature.
We all have our own perspective.
You can't interfere. Well, she's the one who was sulking. I wasn't. She's the one who took umbrage.
Yes. You were kind of horrified, but you got it. Like, anyway, this is Zephyr is her name? Zephyr?
Zephyr.
Yes. Zephyr. So let's take a close look at Zephyr up here. I love this photo for a couple of reasons. The color version is available, I think, on the thread. If it isn't, I'll send it through later. But what I liked about this, I think it's a very natural subject for charcoal. There are areas of they're good light and dark markings, right? There's not too much texture. It's not too overwhelming. And you're going to see that some of this like beautiful striations, we're going to be able to get much easier in charcoal than we would in pencil or another sort of sharper medium. It's a little bit more like working with a paintbrush, which is one of the reasons I like charcoal. If you are somebody who tends to the paintbrush rather than, the soft edges and the sort of blurred, lines, which I think of as more of a painterly approach to things, rather than somebody who really likes a hard, contour line, charcoal is really going to work for you. Having said that, and I know you guys all know this, but for the video, I often like to repeat it. Also, I'm always surprised at who doesn't know this. So I want to review what kind of materials you're going to need. I am working with newsprint. Well, actually, I'm starting by working with charcoal, and I want to clarify what kind of charcoal I am using and what kind of charcoal I am not using. So I am not using a charcoal pencil. And I am not using something called compressed charcoal. So the charcoal pencil and compressed charcoal feels kind of heavy, heavier than the kind of light burnt charcoal that we'll look at in a second. And the problem with this stuff is that if you mark the paper, there's the compressed chart, here's the pencil, here's the compressed charcoal, I can't erase it. Right? I can't erase it. And it's very important in this process that we're about to use that I'm able, look, I'm even using like eraser. I can't get rid of it. So you can definitely use this when you have figured out, when you've kind of determined correctly where everything is. But up until then, you're going to want to favor this soft charcoal. This is from my favorite charcoal maker in the US is a guy who collects, it's literally burnt wood from the rainforest, from the redwood forests in California. As you know, there's a lot of burnt wood in California right now, a lot of charcoal opportunities. It feels very light. If you look at it, it has all kinds of different shapes. Let's see here. These are all the different shapes that it could be, right? Here's like, this is all like charcoal. It feels very light. So this is redwood, like burnt charred redwood. Vine charcoal is also good. That's made from burnt grapevine. Willow charcoal is made from burnt willow branches. So that is, and what's really great about this, as opposed to the compressed, is that I can scrub it and then get rid of it. See how I can kind of blend it out? So there's an erasing capacity that's really important. So it's soft, it's light. I'm working on newsprint, which is just like the stuff that, you know, we make newspapers out of. It feels like it's totally the wrong side. It's not fantastic for pencil, right? If I use a pencil, it kind of sinks in. But it's a very soft paper that's like really perfect for absorbing the charcoal. And then I like to use a kneaded eraser as well. And so for those of you who are working with these materials, we're actually going to start with this and with this as we start drawing. Now, if you do not have those materials, you will just be working with a pencil and paper. And I will try to cue you in on the slight different, right, how it comes across differently. But the first thing I'd like you to do is take a piece of your soft vine or redwood or willow charcoal and run it on the side. Do what's called toning your paper. So you're going to go a couple of ways. We're going to cover this whole thing. I want a different piece, I feel like. Yeah, there we go. I want this to be fairly dark.
Really dark. Oh, sorry.
Fairly dark. I have a little like line here because I'm working on my, here, hold on. I'm working on my painting table, which has actually paint dried up in ridges around it. But you know, if you're in you can, anyways, I'm okay with this. I think it adds, I can kind of get rid of it if I take my finger and push it. And I'll actually start drawing with, here is the version of the kneaded eraser after you use it for a while. It gets from, you know, beautiful light gray to not pristine very quickly. What's really great about this though, is that you can kind of flex it. So I can find clean areas by kind of like silly putty. It's a little bit like, the texture is a little bit like silly putty. I also have this electric eraser, which is really awesome and will be employed later in the process. And boy, will you want one. So there we go. Does anybody have questions about that before we get started? All right, so we're going to start with some basic measuring as always. And as always, I like to kind of draw a simple shape. This lovely lady definitely kind of lends herself to a rectangle, right?
So Leah, so in fact, landscape, right?
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
It doesn't matter. I'm doing it as a profile. I'm doing it as a vertical, just
Okay.
as long as you can fit it. She's just a little bit wider than she is tall, right?
Some of us aren't.
Right, right. No offense to you, lady. I'm not saying you're fat. I'm just saying you're wider than you are tall. And then I'm going to divide a line through the middle. Now, what I'd like you to do, I'm going to jump in here. Oops, hold on. So for those of you who are just looking at it on your computer screen, it's going to be important to figure out, we're going to find the halfway points here, right? So when you're looking at a subject and you're trying to determine that, Where is the exact halfway point of this line? And you don't have it in front of you, right? Like I have this in front of me, I can actually mark it. If you don't have this in front of you, has everybody ever seen this? Seen somebody go like this in an art class, right? What they're doing is they're measuring. And I'm going to try and demonstrate how this works, and I'd love you to try it out. So I'm standing here with my arm straight. My arm is absolutely parallel to my paper. That means as much as I go up or down, I will never touch the paper, right? We are running alongside each other. I'm holding it out. And if you can see, sorry, here, it's weird to look at this on both sides. If you can see what I'm doing on the right, I'm guessing, I think the halfway point is about here. And I'm going to check that. So I'm holding my arm straight. I'm holding my pencil straight. And now I'm taking my thumb to mark the bottom half of that half. And I'm lining up my pen with the top half. So you see, I've actually got a physical measurement. And if I come down, I can see, is it the same size or not? Yeah. I think that's about
It's almost
right.
where that line is, right? But
It's kind of
Yes.
like, yeah,
where that left line, white line
where
is,
that
right?
sort of little bit, yep. So it's a little bit above the head. I don't know if you, so if you want to try that, go ahead and try that. It's important not to bend your arm in the middle of this process. You need to keep it in the same place, right? So keep it straight. And it's how you'll measure everything. It's how you measure things in life, right? And then I can come back here and I can see now I'm kind of testing it. I'm double checking it. I'm taking my hand here and here. I can also use my fingers like this. If I don't have anything to measure with, I can kind of figure out where the halfway point is. Because you see people doing this all the time, remember that it's kind of hard to remember where things are. You can usually only check one point at a time. So a drawer who's drawing from life is constantly checking and rechecking, right? You're constantly checking and rechecking to make sure I've got my things right. And here, okay, so I think I've made that. I've demonstrated that. I'm going to remove this, right? And then I'm also going to divide this into quarter points. Oh, there we go. Excellent. And there's some good. And then I'm going to draw a line through the halfway point right there. So when I come here, I'm going to recreate these proportions. It does not matter if I make this the same size or bigger or smaller, but the proportions need to be the same. So what does that mean? It means that I'm going to start out by sketching my middle line, however long I want to make it. You can see mine's longer.
You did that with the eraser.
I'm doing this with, oh, right. And thank you, Sandra. Yes. And if you're working with the eraser, you're actually doing it with the eraser, right? Not with your chart. You're not with your charcoal. So we're doing something called the erase out method in our beginning sketches. If you do not have these materials, you will just be doing this with a pencil in the traditional way. Once I do that, I'm going to find the halfway point. And once I do that, I'm going to find the quarter points. So you're going to start with that. Okay. Now, how do I figure out how wide to make this thing? Well, that is a comparative thing. That's not going to work. It's not big enough. Yeah, there we go. The width of this is about the size of this pencil, like a little bit wider. So I'm going to actually compare this width. You can see I don't like that. I'll use the other side of a measuring. It's not important to know the number, but it's important. You can see with my finger here, I'm marking one end and here's the other. So this is the width. And if I compare it to the height, It's similar to what we did yesterday. It's literally 1 extra quarter up. So the width here.
Sorry. I just missed what you were saying. Can you just say that again?
The width of this
Ah,
is literally 1 extra quarter. If I went up 1 more quarter on this line, that's how wide it would be.
okay, thank
Right?
you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's totally fine. So, and I can see that because I'm kind of measuring it. So when I come across here and I run this line straight across, I'm going to check this measurement. Let's see. I want this to be this high. I want this width to come this high. So I can come here and do it this way. Right. All right. And it looks like it's pretty equal. Yeah, on either side. Let's see. 2. So what I'd like to see before I see, and I'll mark these, you do not have to use your pencil, your charcoal yet, but I will mark it so you can see it. Can you see these little lines? This is hugely important. I know it seems like a tedious task, but it is absolutely the front end work you really need to do as you're starting to sketch. And we're creating this box here because this box kind of fits the whole turtle. So as we start to carve out the shape of the turtle, we're going to be able to do that easier if we kind of have proportions right. So
may I say, when you don't do a box like that, you sometimes find, like say you start drawing the leg, but suddenly part of the shell doesn't fit in the paper.
Right. So it's easy to make things, as Sandra is like pointing out, and this is totally true. I'm going to take a picture of this so you guys can see it. I just need to move it down for a minute. So I like to see, before I see you draw anything else, I want to see your proportional box. I want to see that.
Leah, I'm sorry, but because it is so important, I want to get this right. So I'm at the point where I've drawn a horizontal and a vertical, which are the center.
Send them over.
Okay, but
let me check them. Yeah.
Right. I haven't done the quarters because I'm confused how you convey.
So you found the halfway point?
Yes.
Okay, then each half gets divided in half.
But how the part about the proportional width versus the height, how do you apply that?
Okay, so okay. So tell me again what you've done. You've done this. You've done this vertical line.
Yeah, I haven't measured it or anything. I just drew a line down my paper.
Okay, so the thing you need to do next, once you've drawn the line, is to determine a top and a bottom. It doesn't matter where it is. It can be as big or as small as you like. And once you've done that, you need to find the halfway point of this line.
Oh, I see. So rather than a random line, I'm doing like the height, right? No,
you're doing yes. So this is the line that you're drawing. Now, you'll notice mine does not have to be, it's bigger than this. It doesn't have to be the same size as this, but I want it proportionally to be the same. So you'll start with, I'll start over again, and I want to watch me closely here. I just start by defining a line down the middle of my paper.
Yep.
I'm glad you're asking this because it's there's a lot of steps here, and it's a jump mentally, but once you get it, it'll totally make sense, right, Sandra?
Yep.
Once you get it, it's like super
it is
logical.
crucial because
it's crucial, right? So once I define this line, however, I can make it as big or as small as I want it. This line here in the center, I then find the halfway point. I can do that by using a ruler, right? I like to do it by kind of guessing where I think it is and marking it and then taking my fingers to see, are these the same size? See that?
Yep.
So you're going to do that. Then you're going to do that with each half.
Quarter points. Okay.
Yep. And then they should be the same, right? All the way up the line. 1, 2, 3, 4. They should be the same, right? Distance, because they're all quarter points, right? Now I have enough information to know where to put this horizontal line. I know where to put it, but I need to check how big to make it. So I'm going to measure this.
Oh, that's what I missed.
Okay.
And then I'm going to compare it to my vertical line.
Right.
And what I can see is that the width of this is literally my entire vertical line plus an extra quarter. So I can just come up here, mark this off. I'll mark it, right? For some reason, this is a tricky one for students to get because it's not really measurements, you're evaluating, right? You're kind of evaluating by looking. So now I can come here. I can take this distance, which is my vertical height plus 1 extra quarter. I'm marking it out on my ruler. And now I can come here and draw it. I'm going to mark it so you can see it.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
I got my line.
Yeah. Got it? It's incredibly logical. It's the most logical thing anybody will ever tell you today. But it is not how we think. It's not how we like to think. So intellectually, it's very often a jump. And I'm drawing this box, right? Because, and then of course, you can kind of come back here and draw your lines around because now you know how wide your box is. Right? It's just not how we are trained to think. And so I want you to think about this as kind of like going to the gym. Wait. Oh, I think I need to make this a little bit longer. I want you to think about this as like going to the gym, right? When you go to the gym and you pay a trainer to work with you, you're not really, you work muscles, it should be kind of painful. You work muscles that you're not used to working. So this is a muscle or a visual, this is a way of thinking that we're not used to thinking with our brain. And it's hard. For some reason, it's like super hard for our brain as you're first starting out to wrap yourself around it. I like to call this the visual spatial way of thinking. It's how to really activate your right brain. How to look at things visually, spatially. You're no longer thinking of this as just a turtle. You're thinking of this as a series of light and dark shapes that have a certain height and a certain width. And so the most important things are to find the sort of outer shapes of everything so that you can get things in the right proportions. How's that for a really long-winded explanation? You get it when you get it.
Okay, so you want pictures of this, right?
I do, because I want to check your measurements.
Mine feels way wide, so curious to see what you
I'll
think.
check it.
Okay.
Send it over. Make sure you take a picture of it straight on top, right? So it's not slanted. And I will check it. Okay.
I didn't leave enough room, so I had to go right up to the edge of the paper.
See?
So you could, okay, so hang on. I think it is a little wide, but I
do that
just
all the
scooch
time.
it in just a touch here on this side.
Okay,
Yeah, and then you're in good shape.
okay.
All right,
I like that technical measurement.
right? A scooch, a
Yes.
scooch. You know, it's a little bit less than a quarter. It's not exactly when I
Okay,
measure
I
it more
think-
specifically. So yeah, just scooch it in a little bit. And you're right, it feels just a touch long. Observe, Nancy, how you feel when you see that. So you're definitely, notice how a little tiny, it's probably 2 millimeters. And notice how much a difference that makes. You can really notice it, right?
Yeah.
That's why these proportions are so important, because if you don't get these right, it's impossible to get anything else right. All right, let me take a look at everybody else's. I'll take it. So Lily, do you live in New Jersey or are you just visiting?
I'm just visiting from college. I go to College of Charleston down in South Carolina.
Oh, what a
I'm just
great
visiting.
town.
Yeah, it is. I really like it down there.
You know, my cousins have opened a restaurant down there that's really amazing called
Really, what do they,
Chasing.
what kind of food?
They do like a lot of it's farm to table, and they do a lot of
nice.
fantastic stuff with vegetables. But I mean, they're a meat eating place too. It's called Chasing Sage. If you're ever looking for a job, I'm sure they like hire you.
To do what?
Oh, you know, whatever, bussing tables, like, you know, what you do when you're not going. I always had a part-time job. But you should definitely take your mom. It's there for dinner. It's fantastic. It's really fantastic. What a beautiful place to go to school. You're so lucky. Okay.
I don't know if mine's wide enough. I have the opposite problem as Nancy.
Send it over.
As in life.
Yes, right? Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, so yeah, yours looks too, yep, yours is exactly the same. The width, Francesca, yours looks good. Yep. Yeah, Marcy, yours is almost a perfect square.
Yeah.
Also, I want to double check. You don't exactly have this line at the halfway point. You need to bring your halfway point down a little bit.
I see what you're saying.
Can you see what you're saying? It's a little bit higher.
Needs to
So
come
bring
down.
that down. This needs to be as wide as tall. This needs to be as wide as this is tall, plus about this much more, which is a little bit less than another quarter. So you need to get your, notice how hard this is to do. This is not an intuitive thing. This is a learned process. Nancy, that looks great.
Is it better? Okay.
Yeah.
Like I was a math major, so this whole concept of like estimating
Send a
is
picture so she can tell if you got the right.
is a little.
It's estimating, but it's like estimating, Marcy, with precision. It's estimating with numbers. It's not like, it's just a visual spatial judging. So
Yeah.
what you guys are both finding is you're having to reorient yourself to how much space things take up on the paper. It's like a language, and it's going to take you a while to get there. That's like one of the things that's frustrating about it, right? Is that things, as we focus in on things, we tend to make them bigger than we think they should be, which is the problem that Sandra was talking about earlier. It's why we put things off the paper. So it's actually, it's a kind of, it's a visual math in a way. You're finding, and I'm using these points to help me figure out.
Get the whole thing, you have to stand up straight so your camera's level. Like right now, it's not level.
So I wonder how
Yeah,
proportionally
right.
wider I should make it.
Okay, so
Yep.
so if so remember, there's no mystery here. You're going to, it's a little bit less than an extra quarter up. So if you want to, you can mark it here, right? To this,
Let's see.
you can mark it. It's almost what, it's a little bit less than 1/4. So you can just come right up here, mark a quarter, and then come down a little bit. And that is your width.
Perfect. Okay, thank you.
It's very precise. It's more mathematical than you think, just a different way of
Right.
thinking about
Yeah.
numbers. It's actually completely precise. And your little struggles with it and your conversation that you're having about it in your head, that's all your left brain trying to talk you out of doing it.
I'm very.
That's our left brain. You're no more left brain than anybody else. Don't you worry. This is so normal.
Yeah, I just sent Lily's to you on my phone.
Let me see.
We couldn't get her set up on, she has WhatsApp, but we couldn't get her into the chat.
Okay, so Lily, you have the same problem as Marcy. This
I
is
helped
the
her.
same height. So you need to widen your width. This is a square. What you need to do is widen this out. I'd say a little bit on this side.
So she's saying.
And also make sure your lines are straight, a little straighter, right? This is when I look at this, if you can see what I'm doing here, I'm checking. These are the same. And this needs to be higher.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
This one's fine.
Yeah, but you should tell her. Oh, just make this one lower.
I work on it first. Yeah. Okay, well, I
Alright.
finally get the concept that we were talking about.
Yeah, right. It's this is a major concept. And don't worry if you lose it and come back to it. I continue to repeat it because it really is a practice thing, just like working out. But what's really fantastic is it's so good for your brain to try this different way of thinking. So once you've done that, we can use, does anybody remember what the term negative space means? What's the negative space?
Yes.
What's the negative space, Sandra?
It's the part that's actually not the image,
Right,
but outside the image compared to the edges. So like
right,
the part where there is nothing.
right. The part of the drawing that is not the subject. Now, if you want to talk about a real mind bender, right? The real mind bender here is that this negative space is as important in the drawing as the subject itself. Right? If you do not have the negative space, we like to not think about that. We like think about the subject. We're focusing on the subject. That's a very left brain way. When I say left brain, I mean verbal conceptual. That's a very verbal conceptual way of looking at this, is to just focus on the subject and ignore everything else.
We
But
don't
when
even
you're,
see it, right?
Yeah.
We
we don't even register it. But
The
when you're
brain kind of-
drawing, you need to include this in your construction, right? Yeah, your brain just does it. Your left brain is not interested in what is not negative space. Your right brain has to think about the shape next to the shape. So we've created a little box here to help us kind of shape out the turtle. So we're going to start with the outer shapes, and I'm going to use this little box that I've created to help me figure out where everything is. I'm going to actually do this. I'm going to at least draw the edge of my box so you guys can see it, because it's a little tricky to see. Whoops. Hold on.
You know, Leah, the eyes are very similar to that sea turtle we did yesterday.
They are, with the
The
little
same type of eyes.
with the little sort of thing on the top of the head, and yep.
Yes, like a bowl sticking out and that
Yeah.
slit.
I'm going to sketch this in, but you guys do not need to have these lines sketched in. You can be working with your eraser. I just want you to be able to see it as I'm working it. So I'm coming here and I can see that the top of this turtle, and let me also send a picture of this across. Here, I'm going to make sure you guys have this on the thread so you can look at it closely, more closely than here. Here we go. Little cutie. She is really cute. I'm very enraptured by her. She's just adorable, right? So here I can see that, like, if I look at this part of this box, this little quarter, that her shell kind of starts about here. And it ends just below the quarter line here. So my first line is going to be to shape out, using my eraser, to shape out the negative space. So you can see I've created this little triangle, which is also going to help me shape my turtle. Yeah, it's a mind bender drawing. It totally is. And on the other side, you can see it kind of starts here and a little bit closer. And it so if you want me to sketch this in, you really do. And then down here, there's this little carve out. And down here, there's this little carve out. So literally, we are just doing the outside shapes of the turtle, and we're kind of checking it by looking at the negative spaces. Sorry. Here. My notepad is a little bit finicky. Here, I'm going to try and bring her up just a little bit. So if you want to talk about a serious mental mind bender, this is not how anybody draws anything if you're just sitting down to do it on their own. The way people will draw this turtle if you're just sitting down to try and draw it, is to start with the eyes, then do the nose, then do the mouth, and then go outward.
And
But
then
that
find it doesn't
doesn't
fit.
Right, but that doesn't work because we make things too big. We focus on things and we make things too big. So this is the actual construction of the turtle. I'm looking at my negative space. I'm getting my outer shapes in, and then, only then, am I going to start carving in the turtle. So I'm kind of paying attention. I like working with negative space because I often find it easier to see the shape than the actual shape of the thing that I'm drawing. I find this shape sometimes easier to see. It's really just a triangle, kind of a triangle with a curvy edge, right? Like that. It's just so much easier to see than this. So I like this technique because it helps me kind of make sure I know where my borders are. This is also a logical way of thinking about it, a very logical way of thinking about it. If I can see my shapes better, my bigger shapes, I'm going to be able to get my smaller shapes right. I have less of a worry about getting my bigger and smaller shapes right. So I'll send this across. You do not have to draw in the lines like I did. I just drew them because it seems to be easier to see for you guys. You can just stick with your light lines, your light erase lines. What's nice about those light erase lines as well is that you can't really, is that you can sort of move them around more easily, right? Because you don't have these strong lines here that are distracting you. They're less difficult to erase. That's how it'll work. Yeah, there we go. Now you can see both. So go ahead and send that in. I'm going to get a lot less anal, you guys, once we get the basic structure down. So don't worry, you're going to be able to be rock and rolling. This is, like I said, what I like to think of is the front end work that is not intuitive that I want to check to make sure everybody's getting it. I think we resist it because the left brain resists it because it feels kind of tedious, and also this looks kind of dumb. Like the shape is not very appealing. But so we're like, wait, I want to we're kind of instant gratification people, right? Like we want to have more, more definition in the beginning because that makes us feel better as we're starting to sketch things out. But we can't really get there until the drawing or the painting gets through what we call the awkward phase. Nancy, let's see, looks pretty
Even
good.
the nose is similar.
Yeah, they're very similar. Nancy, that looks good.
Okay. Okay.
Yep.
Yours, Lily?
Mhm.
I'm still working on the water turtle.
Excellent.
Must
The
do
one
it.
that we started yesterday. That's
Yeah,
super
and
cute.
now it looks.
Excellent, Marcy.
Yeah.
Excellent, Francesca.
Oh,
Good job. Good job, you guys. Great negative spaces. I love it. You're going to get to love negative space. You guys are going to love it so much. You're going to be like, thank God and then it'll feel like totally normal and natural. You will not believe that it was ever hard to understand. Okay, so now that we've got these spaces, let's look at some of our inner areas. So one of the things I really like about this turtle
Did you send your?
is that she's got a very clear set of sides. What direction is the light coming from? Can anybody answer that question?
Top slightly to the right.
Yeah, how do you, really kind of more top, directly top? How can you tell? How do you know that?
Because it's washed out at the top.
It's like bright at the top. It's not only bright at the top here, it's bright at the top here.
That's why I thought it was the right a little bit, because that's kind of as we're looking at her, the right side of her face.
Yes.
But
It's
It's
not
because there's a
really,
wall on the left.
it's not really the right side of her face. It's the top of her head,
okay.
right? The lightest area here, and I'll sketch it out here.
There is a bit more light on the right.
A teeny bit, but not really. It's more a tiny bit here. Yes, anyway, you're basically right. It's basically the top. But what I like it, how this shows is that this turtle has sides, right? There's a top, and then as things turn away, the light changes, right? So everything kind of here that's down, and that's a little bit like a cube. So if I were to sketch out, and Nancy and Marcy, I'm really appreciating these questions because it really helps me, right? Figure out how to explain what's going on. It's a little bit like a cube, right? There's a front of the turtle, and then there's a top of the parts of the turtle. So there's a front of the face, there's sides of the face, there's a top. And you can show 3 dimensions on a flat surface by showing changes in light and dark. We'll get to that in a second. So I'm basically outlining the biggest dark and light shapes. Notice I'm not getting into the turtle's face. I'm really just getting the head. And I'm also not getting into that patterning yet in the shell or here. We're going to get there later. So these are the next set of lines. I'll show you how they work. I'm going to send it across. Oh, Diana, he's looking very nice.
He looks like a shark with a cockroach body.
Well, that fin that's on our left is really, or the flipper or leg or whatever you want to call it, is really big because of the proportions, because of the direction that he's turned.
I also sent through Lily's on my number, Leah, again.
All right. Let's see here. Okay. Yeah, everything looks good. All looks good, ladies. We're good. We're in good shape. All right. So now I'm going to take my eraser because I'm still just kind of feeling things out. So one of the things you can notice is I can see that my quarter point, which is right here, happens to be where the light part of the turtle stops. So that kind of helps me see where to put that. See that? These quarter points really help. So I'm going to sketch that in, and then I'm going to come down here. I can see that the head is kind of below the halfway point. I think I'm going to start by getting, and it doesn't come all the way down. It's about here. And then there's the legs, right, which kind of relates to the head. The shape of the legs. And then there's this dark part, which is kind of between the leg and the shell. There's another nice negative space for you. So you can see how I'm starting to sketch this stuff in. Right. You can see how the outer lines that I drew are kind of helping me. There we go. That's it. It's really just like that, right? Kind of where the head is. Here, I'll take a picture. And if I want to, I can also erase this lightest parts. So I'm actually kind of erasing out the lights so that I can see them better. I'm not worried about the texture or the patterns, but maybe I'll erase the top of his little head, her little head. There's a little bit on here because of the way the top of the legs are facing. So this little sort of, I like to call this the envelope of shape. It is the widest points of the entire, if you were to put this shape in a specially shaped envelope, this is the envelope it would fit in. right? You're going to the largest areas here. And this is where it starts to get fun. Anytime now, I promise. Still looks a little weird, but the next step is where it starts getting fun.
Sandra, have you ever painted your own turtles before?
No, I've been daunted by the scales and the shell.
Are you working on them? Are you working on this one?
Yes, I
Awesome.
can't make up my mind whether I'm working with pencil or charcoal.
Well, you might as well do one with charcoal.
So I'm going to send you where I'm at.
Right. And then you can, I think it'll help you sort of locate the lights and darks. From this position, there's less lights and darks than you think. I want to jump ahead just to show you the next step, just so you guys won't lose heart at this sort of blah, this sort of disturbing part, which is now I can take the edge of my charcoal and start kind of defining out the darkest, the outlines, and also I can go in and start adding in the darkest areas. So if you see this, I'm kind of coming around here. I'm really going with the darkest areas. Oh yeah, and let's review one more thing, which is that once we get shapes down, the most important thing in like getting a subject to look like itself is really to make sure you get your lights and your values correct. So for the newbies, do you guys know what the term value means when it comes to painting, drawing and painting? What's value?
You go, Mars.
Is it like the darkness?
Yes, the darkness or lightness of any color, right? So that means if this is a 5 and this is a 1, right? Let's see if I can do this. And then these 2, 3, and 4, 2, 3, and 4 are kind of gradually getting darker. So it's very important that you have good light and dark values. You have some nice contrast, right? We've got a few 1s here, and we've got some 5s. So I like to go in and find my 5s. Maybe at this point, I might even also, oh, no, I made them too wide. See, I do it too. And I can see it's kind of darker under his neck, her neck, sorry. Right, there's a bit of dark kind of around the eyes. If I want to, this side kind of seems a bit darker, even though there's patterns, this side is darker. So I'm darkening it to kind of distinguish it. I can go back in later and erase out the lights that are here. So you see how this turtle starts to kind of come, we start to get shapes. The other thing I might do is I might remove this. So you guys have a picture of this. I'm going to remove this because I think it blocks, some of the lines block the light. So now you can really see, right, the darks and the lights here. And I can start to add them in. And I can use the edge. I can see that sort of the side of the face. It's kind of a sort of light, darker color. In fact, if I want to, I can make this whole thing kind of darkish, except for the top here, and pull my eraser into a point to kind of get the lights around. Right, so the eye is here. There's another eye here. Then I can go around, darken this. I can see that around the eye, there's a light edge. And then around that light edge is a dark edge. I can see that like almost like we're carving out the lights and darks. And ultimately, you might actually go back in with a charcoal pencil once you've kind of got everything spelled out. And you can add sort of sharper lines. There she is. Hello, lovely. Hello, little one. You're the cutest. She's got a little bit of a kind of lighter-ish thing on the top of her head before there's this hole for her shell. So you can kind of go back and forth. Don't spend too much time on the face though. Kind of keep working around the subject. So now I can come up here. And actually, I do think this is a good strategy. I'm going to darken this whole side. And then coming back to this, I'm going to see where are my light shapes. See how I can kind of pull those out with my eraser. You'll see that the charcoal is already creating a kind of a texture. That means you don't have to work as hard to create all these sort of little back and forth striations. Observe how many times, like you get too big. I have observed that I have several times gotten way too big and have to carve my, sort of recarve out my dark or my light. Let's see, there's a light down the middle here. Yeah, you know what, Nancy, the more I look at this, the more I think it's to the right too. It's slightly lighter here than it is on this side. Good eye. Really good eye.
In the color picture, it's more apparent. That
Yeah. You can
right
see it
top of
here
a shell.
too. You can see it. Good job. Don't let me tell you you're not right. Don't let me tell you that. That's a really nice eye. Yeah, you're totally right. Dang. All right. You want to teach this class? You should. See how the turtle is starting to come out.
Yes.
And it's like you're kind of carving her out, almost like you're carving her out of stone. Now, I'm not going to say this process is exactly easy, but I'm going to say it's doable. It's manageable. Right? Notice how I'm kind of still working. I'm kind of flirting with the edges of these scales. I'm mostly trying to get the sort of shapes of the legs before I try to get any texture. What you'll find is that it's often easier. So I can choose to do as much or as little as I want of these lines. I don't think I have to draw every single one of these. Kind of look at the area where it's lighter. There's kind of little shapes in here. See how as I'm sketching these in, I'm starting to get those scales in. So I get to, this is how an artist figures out how little detail, how much detail you need to make a painting feel real. You don't need everything. I am paying attention to how these scales are kind of patterned. There's not that many of them, but I'm mostly paying attention to kind of light and dark shapes within. So you see, I didn't actually draw everything, but that actually doesn't look too bad because I'm doing more of the shapes. I'm doing a few, but I don't have to do everything. There you go. Now she's starting to look a little bit. I think her eye is too big, so I'm gonna erase that out, right? Super hard. I think this is time for the electric eraser. You could also use your pencil eraser. The rest. Oh, here you are. Also, this is super messy. Prepare to be amazed. I was. So this is really awesome, this thing, which costs about like $10. It's not expensive. Look at what I can do here. I have a little bit more control. I used to scoff at these things, and then Jessica Pryor bought me one and sent it to me. Now I'm just
By
like,
these things, you mean the eraser?
this electric eraser. And now I'm just like, this is the best thing I have ever. See what I did there? I have a little bit more control. I'm kind of hitting out the best things. Now, one of the other things that you'll want to be thinking about at this point is what you're going to do with the rest of your background, right? So kind of over the, I want to get rid of this. I want to maybe kind of do a medium tone around the edge. So, oh, dang it. Look what I did. I totally erased. Okay, don't do that. Don't do what I just did. I just totally
That's what
erased
I
mine.
dislike about it.
It's so frustrating. Oh, I totally had that and then I lost it. All right, let's try that again. Okay. Unbelievable.
I'm glad to see you do that because I've done that.
Oh
myself.
yeah, girl. I
Frustrating.
mean, listen, I love charcoal because I am at heart a painter, and this is closer to painting than it is to like drawing with a pencil. I'm not a big fan of like pencil drawing. I mean, I love it. Don't get me wrong. I teach it all the time. I'm actually pretty good at teaching it, but like I am not a natural pencil drawer. I'm more of a let's take, pieces and make them work. And so unbelievable. I really liked how I had that. But this is the problem with charcoal. Charcoal is more applying drawing in a more painterly way. But there is that problem. So at some point, as I was saying, until you erase your face and have to completely redo it. You also want to be thinking about your background. So your background at this point can really help you bring your, instead of going into huge amounts of detail, it's good to think, oh, okay. Well, I know it's kind of lighter here, so it should be a tiny bit darker, right, around the edge of it. So you can add in your background just primarily to help showcase, and usually you want it to be a different value than what's happening on your subject. So you can see here, I have a lighter value, And I'm actually pushing the darkness on this side so that it'll really show up against this lighter value. I'm going to add a contour line in here, mostly a kind of wavy one, mostly because I feel like this edge needs a little bit more detail, but I got to be careful not to make things look too much the same. God, I did it again. Unbelievable. It's because my drawing keeps falling here. Hold on, I need a better tape. I catch it and then. And yes, Nancy, I will screw things up every single, like I'd make a lot of mistakes. I guess what I'd like to emphasize in this process is if you're a person who freaks out at mistakes, that you'll never make it as a drawer, because drawers just literally have to try, use your tools to make your best guess about what's actually happening, and then fix it when you lay it down and realize that you're wrong. And not only that, wait, she's smiling. Not only that, you're going to notice that you personally make a certain set of mistakes that are the same every time. I still do. I make all kinds of mistakes that are absolutely the same. And as much as I try, I now just know I'm going to make them. So I have it built into my process that I have to lay things out and say, I will get the mouth wrong. On any portrait that I'm drawing, I'll get it in the wrong place. And I'm going to lay things out. I'm going to do the best I can. I'm going to be aware of the fact that I mess up the mouth all the time. And, I'm going to have to go back in and fix it later. That's going to be one of the things I'm going to have to do. So it's really not for the faint of heart, right? You got to be prepared for the idea. Some people struggle with failure. They don't like it. But really, to be good at anything, you have to be prepared to fail. You have to build failure into your system for a process. And so that's what I'm sort of trying to do here is, sort of build failure into my process. So I'm not freaked out when it happens. I kind of expect it to happen. I don't know, Sandra, what would you say is your biggest go-to mistake that happens?
Or making the eyes too big.
Oh, yeah. And also nose a little bit too, right? Like the nose on animals used to be tricky, although now you're much better at that.
I think mostly it's the eyes. And I still sometimes leave it because that's what I like to do, particularly if I'm painting. It gives me a bigger area to paint, which is the thing I like to paint most, like that lion.
Right.
Yeah, but you have improved so much.
Dramatically.
Yeah.
Dramatically.
Thank you.
Now you are an artist.
Yeah, you're starting to get that. That's the skill. And just so that you guys know, it's a practice. It takes a long time. It takes a lot of
yeah.
It's not something that's necessarily easy. It's something that you develop and practice, because it really does require a different set of thinking skills. I use this term a lot because I think it helps people to understand. Here we go. Yeah.
I'm looking at your turtle, and there's something I see that's wrong. Can I
What's
say?
that?
So the right eye and the right bottom
Oh,
the
yeah,
shell
he's
are
way up.
tipped.
Yep, he's way off. Yep, you're right. You mean the left eye?
No, this eye where you're doing now, it should be lower.
I don't have the right eye in yet.
No, but never. Well,
I got you.
It's
Yep.
lower, and so is the bottom of that shell is lower. It's kind of tipped.
Yep. I see it. I see it. Really, it starts up here. More like that. That shape has to be right. And then really, this has to be higher. And this is lower. Yep. And I very specifically don't practice these because I want you guys to see the mistakes that I make. Yeah, that's better. Thanks, Sandra. That's good.
You're welcome. I mean,
I want you to see that this is something, I don't want you to see me draw a perfect thing and make it look easy. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want you to see, I struggle too. We all do. I'm going to remove this because I think this is not, there we go. I think this is easier to see without all the markings.
I think this painting never will come out of the awkward stage.
I'm saying that a lot lately.
Am I?
Yes.
yep,
Right, Sandra?
yeah,
Yeah.
it's true.
You've been, something is happening. Maybe perhaps you are, oh shit, sorry, I dropped my eraser. Maybe perhaps you are kind of trying to push up your, a skill in some way, but you've been saying it a lot.
Oh, I haven't even noticed.
Oh yeah, we have.
And now what Leo pointed out, yes, it's true.
I mean, like,
Also true for my paintings. They are in awkward stages a lot.
they're in awkward stages, right? That's good though. Means you have something. I'm going in with my pencil now because now I want to like kind of make, I feel like I kind of have the idea of where things are. Look at her little nose. She's so cute. So if you can see this, I'm now able to kind of like go in. I certainly hope anyway. As you get smaller, as you work sort of more closer in, you'll see the little details. When you're trying to show the sort of edge of something,
Ugh.
when you're trying to show the edge of something, you'll see that it's often like there's a light next to a dark area. Those will start to pop out. And that will help you define. So underneath this chin here, I kind of see this light area, which is helping shape the face. I can see there's like a kind of little light. And this makes sense as we get into like bigger and smaller shapes, right? Because this part of the head is a little bit lighter. Here it's kind of lighter, the top of the leg on this side. over here where the leg is sticking out, it's catching some of that light. I'm not sure how much detail we'll be able to get in this, but we'll do our best. In any event, are you guys into it? I can feel it because it's quiet. So go ahead and send it in. If you're feeling like I'm just stuck, I don't know where to go, send it in. If you're like, I'm super proud of myself.
And it,
Yeah, you know, Sandra, the tricky thing with the eyes, and you'll see I really struggled with that, is it's easy to make them too big with the eraser. So at some point you might go in with a charcoal pencil to really tighten those lines.
I've already taken out the charcoal pencil. Everything's a mess.
Yeah.
I've just sent it to you, Liam.
Oh, he's coming along. He's coming along. Make this more dark and then maybe use your eraser to pull the lights out. I think that will feel a little bit more, rather
More
than
like the
try to
shell,
put
right?
the darks in first. So yeah, you guys, in general, in an area like this, it's better to darken everything and then use your eraser to pull out the lights, rather than to put the darks in and stick the lights in around them.
In the top, you leave completely white? No.
Right now, yeah, mostly.
Yeah, that looks better already. I mean, just having a very light.
Right. It's because what happens is there's more dark than we think. The lights are kind of smaller and they pop out rather than the other way around, right?
That comes the devil eraser.
Yeah, the devil eraser.
Well, let's see. Lion
He's
is
really
interesting.
cute. I love her so much. I love you. I'm going to put her up in the studio. I did that with, here, I'll show you. I did that with the frog last week too. I put him up in the studio because he was so cute. And I feel like they totally help. Here's where mine is right now. I wouldn't say it's totally done, but I would definitely say, oh yeah, now that I've taken a
Now
picture
her
of
mouth
it.
looks good.
Yeah. But I'm taking a little break. It's also good to take a little stretch break.
He's got these markings around the mouth that make him look like Hannibal Lecter.
did you call your female turtle he, Sandra?
Oh,
He
but
used
because
to.
for years and years and years, I thought it was a boy. Because when the boys have red eyes, but so do young turtles. And so for years I had him and I thought it was a boy.
And
then one night I found them mating.
And she found
the
out she
other
was
one-
wrong.
The other one is much more wary of me, much more wild, and much more daring too. Sometimes if it's too hot, he jumps into the pond. So now, and I always thought it was the girl, but no, it's the boy. I was very clearly set right when I saw them mating.
I did it again. Look at that. Just don't do what I'm doing, you guys. Learn from watching me. I totally erased it. I totally leaned on it.
This is a problem, isn't it, of this method?
It's a problem of this
charcoal.
method. And also, I will admit, this is kind of a trickier subject than I thought. So if you're like, you guys are kind of struggling with it, that's okay. It's a good struggle. You're not the only one. Oh, boy, that pissed me off. Okay, you here now.
Yeah, I
Down
say
here.
the scale and the scale.
It's
detail.
trickier than it looks. So don't worry if you're.
This is why I've never painted him, Diana.
No time.
Now
like the
you will.
present.
Now you will.
Oh
make
no, because it's
series.
charcoal, so I can't paint him on that
Now you're
paper.
gonna make a series of pictures
Turtles.
of her.
Of her.
Of
And
her.
him. There we go. I like to think that when I mess up and I totally wipe off all this work that I've done, that I'm actually just getting it better the second time.
That is
Sometimes
often
makes
the
me-
case, though.
That's
Is
true.
Not always, or heartbreakingly.
Yeah, you got to kind of learn to.
Yeah, maybe I should erase this one.
It's the struggle.
Yeah.
You're just defining the struggle. That's a little bit better. So I had to bring, I noticed that I had too much like dark space all up and down the line of my turtle. I'm noticing that he comes down a little bit lower in a couple of places. Like it's dark here and then it's kind of light down here. So I'm just playing with that. All right, I'm gonna leave it for a second. I'm gonna go get just a little bit more coffee, you guys, because it was a long night. You send in what you're working on.
So I'm not going kayaking tomorrow. It's too windy, they say.
Oh, so we're painting tomorrow.
Yeah, I think so. Well, I don't know. I have a friend I was going to go kayaking with. I offered to go hiking, but it's going to be very chilly as well. Like only 8 Celsius. I mean, like what 40,
Woo!
45 something.
But you get warm when you're hiking.
Well, yeah, warmer than when you're kayaking. So. This is very messy, I have to say. This is what I don't like about charcoal. And this is why I marvel at people who do very clean portraits using charcoal.
Yeah, I used to like charcoal, but you know.
I mean, I love how bold it is on paper, but it is messy and I can't seem to keep it sharp.
Oops. Oh. I think I have to rethink this thing. It is super messy. Super messy.
Are you doing charcoal as well?
No, I'm
Oh.
painting, but you know,
You're doing the mess in the paint.
I really am. Because I can't decide. I can't really decide what to do. So I'm just painting on top of one another. And you know, when you paint too many times over, everything gets gray, even though I start with really strong colors.
I didn't realize that happened also in acrylic.
Yeah.
Certainly happens in watercolor.
Oil, yeah. That's why I'm not doing oil, because it happens
Much more
there.
quickly.
Yeah. Yeah, because you have to wait for it to totally dry, and at least in acrylic it does dry.
Well,
Weird.
I don't know whether it's a likeness.
Only you can tell that, because you know your animal.
Yeah, but it's not, I have to say. I mean, it's a turtle.
It's a good start.
Oops, sorry. Spook the cats. No, it's okay. Made a mistake.
Yes, Sunny Bunny. Yes, Sunny Bunny.
How's it going, everybody?
Wrong question. Next question.
Next question. How's it going?
Okay, I'll send it to you, but it's it doesn't look like her.
Yeah, okay. Send it over.
If it was a human, you wouldn't recognize.
Nancy, Marcy, and Lily, how's it going over there?
So something looks wrong. Looks like the shell is
I'm
sitting.
working. I found this really hard, but I'm chipping away at it. I'll send a
I like
picture
it.
soon. How
I
about
love
everybody
it.
else?
I love it. I'm chipping away at it. That's exactly, Nancy, you're natural. This is exactly the thinking. It's like little pieces. Sandra, I would work on adding some of these darks down here around.
Okay.
And I also feel like the shell needs to extend a little bit farther. And look at the shell in kind of relation to the leg.
I measured
See how
that.
it, yeah.
I think it. Oh,
Look at how the shell kind of extends a little bit past the leg.
actually, it does it in my drawing more than in yours.
Maybe your leg needs to extend a little farther.
Oh
Hold on.
yeah, I moved it along, and maybe it's. I didn't move it. I moved. I mean, I had to move ahead, and instead
I would
moved
get
the leg.
dark in here. And
Okay.
I think that will make, see, there's kind of a lost edge here. Let me show you.
Yeah, it looks like the shell is not attached.
There's almost a little bit of a lost edge here because that's the darkest part. So you can go ahead and add in that shape of dark with little tiny.
It's just that actually, when you look at it, there's an edge of light. Actually, you can't see it because you've got your lines. But if you look at the color photo, look. See,
Yeah,
there's
but there's an edge of light, but look at this giant shape of dark that I've drawn.
oh, that yeah, right.
Yeah, I'm talking about that. You need to get, so this is interesting, you guys. This is a good teaching point. This is called a lost edge. And a lost edge means that a shadow, because as Nancy so rightly observed, just listen for a second, a shadow has fallen across the sort of darkest side. And so there's a kind of place where it's a little bit harder to see. You can see a little bit of the edge right here, but mostly this area is mostly dark and it's hard to see the edge of the shell.
But in color, that's not true at all. You can see.
Yeah, but
very
that's
clearly.
not what we're looking at. We're looking at
Oh,
values.
that's what I'm looking at.
We're looking at values. So I think the problem, Sandra, is you have too much detail.
Oh, I've just added it because.
Well,
because-
but you're missing some of the value shifts. Go back to the black and white. It'll help you. You're getting the color photo is too sharp and you're struggling a little bit to associate color with value. Here, I'm going to do it right now. I'm going to put that lost edge in right here because I like that. I'm like, oh yeah, this whole area is kind of dark, right? See that? And now I can come back in with my eraser and kind of add in this little tiny light edge here, huh? Here. A little bit down here. But this actually feels a little bit more like there's a shadow happening. As I said, as Nancy so rightly observed, this is the darkest side of the
Okay.
journal.
I know I'm the
Very
best,
cute.
apparently. I can't draw, but I
Very
can tell where a light's coming from.
Is that irritating to you? I thought it was kind of a neat thing.
Sorry.
I heard that.
I feel like I just made one comment and I don't want to feel like I'm being held up as anything special. Sorry.
Well, but what I'm pointing out is actually this is being able to see lights and dark sides is hugely crucial to being able
You
to
know
draw.
what? I do a lot of photography
Yeah,
And so I'm really conscious of where light is falling.
Yeah,
So
I
that
can
was why I
see
did
that. It's huge.
Sorry, I wasn't trying to be snarky. I just felt
Ah.
embarrassed that you kept saying my name and complimenting me.
You
Not
can
used to being
accept that.
complimented, Leah.
Accept it, Nancy, accept
All right,
it.
all right. I'll take it in. I'll
Accept
take it in.
Take it in.
All right,
Take
all
it in.
right.
Trust me, I'll tell you when things aren't going well. I'll tell you that too, I promise.
Leah, I just sent you mine. It's Marcy.
Let's see. Oh, Diana, that's coming along. Oh, Marcy, she's starting to come along very nicely. So do you have a charcoal pencil?
No.
Do you have, let's see, do you have some of that compressed charcoal?
Is that down here?
Yes, we.
Yeah.
Oh,
So maybe now,
one's open over there.
so what I
Sorry.
would suggest, this is coming along really nicely, is to really push the dark areas, right? Like
Okay.
really push your darks. Now you can use compressed charcoal, but remember, maybe use a little bit of compressed charcoal around the eyes.
Okay.
Kind of like get a little bit more detail, right?
Yeah.
To get a little bit closer detail. So notice all this shadow area kind of right in here. Notice.
Where's that, sweetie?
Right on the counter over there. It's in that one of them I opened partway thinking we were going to use it. So use that one. Okay, I'll return the other one. Right there, I think behind you. Yeah.
Very nice. That's great, Marcy. It's lovely.
Thank you.
Yeah. And Sandra, don't worry about this. This is just your first try. You know how it goes. And this is a tricky subject. This is a tricky subject. I like it, but like, it's okay that it's a little hard to figure out. So did you see how I did this? I kind of darkened this whole area here. Like
Yeah,
this whole side. And then I added in a tiny little bit of just a touch here. Right? You just don't need that much. You know, Nancy, you're making me think, it's funny. I once had a student who I was walking around, I was going around the room, complimenting people, like saying what I liked about people's work. And I got to hers and I said, oh, you know, I like this thing and that thing. And she went, well, I just see that you do that to everybody. And I went, oh, no, you don't. And she went, what? And I said, don't you ever accuse me of don't take your insecurity, I think is what I said about your own work and project it onto me. Something's good.
All right, that's a good lesson.
Good, right?
That's a good lesson.
That's a good lesson. It's like I was like, no, actually, this is kind of good. Like, so,
Did she come back to class?
no, I don't think she did.
Well, you're not getting rid of me, so.
Oh, I could tell. You're in.
You're stuck with me.
Good.
I will try not to deflect any compliments from here on out.
Don't deflect any compliments because my compliments are, they're hard earned.
Hard
It
won.
means you've earned them. Yeah, they're hard won. Yes, exactly. And yeah, she was shocked, but like there is that it's funny. You'll see it in a group. There's always a group dynamic. And these were when the classes were done in the Reuters boardroom. So everybody was in the
person.
Right. In person, which I think is a little bit more intimidating for some people because they can see what everybody else is doing.
Oh, yeah.
It's a little different when I think it's more secure, I think, to be like here.
Hidden away in our own homes.
Yeah, hidden away, not having everybody look at every little thing that you're doing. I take a gym class every morning at 6 a.m. And I'll tell you, I appreciate that the whole class cannot see what I'm doing. I'm like, I don't want you guys to see how lame, how I only did half the push-ups. I'd rather you all not see that. Oh my God, I love her so much. I really do, Sandra. I love her so much. I love your girl. I can't wait to
I'm
come to
gonna-
DC and visit her. I'm gonna come and talk to her.
You have to come in. She just came out of hibernation, but it's going to be chilly again. So, there's a part of the year where they come in, come out.
Right.
And at this change of season, actually, she's often sitting in her little house at the door.
Oh.
Leah, are you gonna let me send in a goat picture to do?
Would you
Oh,
please?
yeah.
Would you
It's a
please? I
good
was
one.
noticing, what is this place called? Goats of Chaos or
Goats of Anarchy.
Goats of Anarchy?
It's a
Please.
shelter, it's a sanctuary specializing in special needs goats. So there's a lot
Oh.
of blind goats, there's a lot of
Oh my
goats in wheelchairs.
God.
Yeah, it's a very special place. Some of the goats are just, regular healthy goats that have been rescued for one reason or another.
Oh my
A
word.
baby goat, please.
Yeah.
Baby
Yes,
goat?
and send it with, since you obviously have the eye for light, send it with a really dramatic lighting. So it might have some dark and light markings, but also a dark and light side. That
I'll
would be
send
great.
you a few to choose from you can decide what's
Oh
gonna be.
my
a
God,
good-
I'm so excited. That would be great.
So a lot of the ones that have a lot of contrast don't have a lot of detail. Is that okay? Like it's like black and white goat and,
Sure. Yeah.
Well,
Black and white is actually great because that's got some nice. Yeah, just send it a bunch. We'll find one. I already saw some of your photos on Facebook, so I could see. I know just send me a few. I did in my mind sort of tag myself for Goats of Anarchy.
yeah,
Check later.
I can't wait to draw them. Yeah, they're fun. They're cute.
Maybe we'll even do them next week.
Do you
Their fur is
volunteer
sort
at
of
the
short.
sanctuary? Do you volunteer there?
I do. Yeah, I volunteer. And it's
And
not
what do you do with
glamorous.
them?
Let me tell you, it's, cleaning up their stalls. So,
Or marking stalls.
but they're the little group that I work with is very affectionate. Yesterday, after I cleaned up, I sat outside on their structure and this big 200-pound goat was determined to sit on my lap. I was like, oh, that might be a little too
Oh,
much for me.
nice.
I love it. Yeah, sometimes I wish we didn't have to work so we could just take care of animals.
I know. Do you have a lot of animals?
No, I only have a dog and a cat.
Okay. Oh, so you're not sorry, I can't tell. I'm not looking. So you're not the turtle owner. That's another
No,
person.
that's fine.
Okay.
No,
Okay.
me, I've got,
He has a lot
Right.
of animals.
Here I
I've got
am.
3 Bengals, the 2 turtles, and fish in the pond.
That's a nice crew.
Yes, definitely a crew.
The Bengals are definitely the high maintenance one.
They
what?
are. In fact, they're being
The high
strangely.
maintenance.
They're being strangely quiet right now.
But they're sleeping.
What's
Oh,
up
Bengal
with that?
cat.
See, I strategically entertain them and feed them before we start the class. And now they're sleeping.
So they won't be so difficult.
So they just need to kind of, they sleep, a lot, cats. Well, because otherwise they'd be playing with my charcoal and
Right. And
Stepping
milling
on my
around and jumping on.
painting. Yeah.
Now, if you want to, you can fix your charcoal drawings using either this fancy spray or using hairspray. So if you happen to have some hairspray around, you can actually spray it. So what it does is, and you can actually fix it, and then when it dries, work over it. So if you're like, oh my God, I like this at a certain point, I'm drawing it now. It takes about a minute. Ugh, it stinks a little bit, but it takes about a minute to dry, but then you'll kind of cement in and you'll see I might lose some of my detail, but it pushes contrast a little bit. And now I know once I go back in, that if I lean on this layer, it won't smudge. So that's another handy thing to have.
Right. Does it have to be aerosol hairspray or can it be spritzy kind of
Not
hairspray?
the pumpy stuff. You want the
Okay.
aerosol.
Has
Yeah,
to be
yeah,
aerosol.
because that'll just, that's like, dripping on it. Yeah. Yeah. So you could use the aerosol hairspray or this fixative. Here, I'll take a picture of it and send it across the thread so you guys have it. You can see it addresses all that frustration.
So you
Stop
said
smudging.
you can keep drawing on top of it?
You can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
I
make
mean,
sure-
But you
just
can't
make
erase
sure
it
you
once
don't-
you've done it.
Yes,
It's dry.
Where it's not too dark when you spray it.
yeah. Oh, that's right.
Basically, yeah, once you've done that, you can't erase. what
That's
is-
right. That's right. I always forget that part. Yeah, you
To make
can't erase
sure-
it, but like I was so sick of
You like
like
it.
leaning in on my face. I'm like, darn it, I'm at least gonna get this. And it is also true that the top layers will continue to smudge. So you can spray it twice if you want to. So if you really love it, and you want to save it,
Oh, so
really?
messy.
oh, that's right. Maybe this got a little dark, but we'll see. Still dry, still wet. What happened?
It's just,
It's the struggle. Okay, you guys, that's the sound of the struggle. The struggle is the
real.
thing. This is what we go for. We're actually trying to get to this state. You don't want it to be too easy because then your brain stops working fully. You want it to be like hard enough that you have to concentrate. And sometimes you make that noise. Ah! Which I get.
Sorry.
No, it's all right. I made it several times because I erased my face like 3 times before I finally got smart and sprayed it.
Okay, I'm setting it again.
Oh, it's looking better, Sandra. Coming along much nicer. Okay, so Sandra, one of the other things I want you to see here is that you haven't really got the texture. In this case, I would make this dark and try to erase out.
Because you
The
told me
light
to
parts.
not make every single one.
Well, yeah, but what
I
you've
thought I'd
got
put some
is
here
what
and
you
there.
did is you made, but look at how your texture is entirely different than the texture of the turtle. You've done little holes with little circles with lots of white space around them. That's not what's happening here. It's more like this.
But actually, it's got more dark than white,
It's
right?
got
We
more
agreed on
dark.
that.
It always does, baby. It always does. It always has more dark.
So that's why I thought it'd be easier to put the dark rather than try to erase.
No. So what you want to do is erase here, like this.
This is the bit I have trouble with to kind of
Yeah, I'm going to try and demo it for you.
try
Hold on.
to do the pattern more easily.
So I'm doing this, right? So here's the leg. Right, it's kind of here. And now let's see. I'll use my, it's more like this. There's little spaces
Okay,
in between.
you're not using your.
I'm not getting fancy. I'm getting lo-fi, right? This is what's happening, right? It's little kind of dark shapes. If you want to, I can go back in and then like kind of reinforce that with a few. So like here where it's lighter, right? I could totally do that. See that? I can do that. But that's what's happening. It's not the other way, right? It's
Right.
not, let me show,
I was
and
trying
just
to
to
take a
and not to
shortcut.
like, it's funny, for some reason, this is everybody's instinct is to do this. I don't know, it's not what's happening, but it's what it feels like. It's really these big sort of shapes that have dark. So it's better to go dark and then erase out. Okay, let's see if I can erase anything out of here. I could do a little bit.
It looks like it's got a disease.
Well, it just doesn't look like the pattern that's there.
No, I mean, I'm trying to do what you're saying.
Well,
We
it's,
easily
I mean,
with
I just did
electric
it in
eraser.
front of you and mine doesn't look like a disease. So it's just like, you've just got to
I'm showing to
practice
you.
it. Yeah.
Tell me.
Practice it, practice it. This is the practice. Send it
Because
over.
I'm trying to do it with the
Beautiful.
electric eraser, right?
Well, that's a little too intense. I think it's better to start with your.
So now it looks like a mushroom. Let me send it to you.
It's good
Oh,
to
it's coming
take.
along though, Sandra. It's coming.
Yeah, it is.
It's really coming. And so is yours. You're still doing this ... You're still doing the soldier. This is what you're doing. I want to show you. It's different than what I'm doing. This is how it's different. You're doing this. You're creating a pattern where nothing exists. Dot. Here, I'll do it with the light. I'll do it with the light. So you're doing this. This is not what's happening on that turtle. This is not the shape. You're doing this. This is not what's happening. This is not what's going on at all. What's going on here is this. I'm going to schedule it. I'm going to put it down here so you can compare and see the difference. What's going on here is this. It's more like it's kind of an interlocking pattern.
You've
It's
got
more
the
like-
electric
I'm
eraser
just
on.
doing it to show you quickly.
I know,
okay?
but I'm
Look
asking
at-
you,
Huh?
are you managing to do that with electric eraser on?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm using the electric eraser right now. See how I'm
Okay.
doing this? Look at the difference between what you did and what's actually happening. Right? This is but you could also start it with this. It won't get totally dark. You can start it with this where you have a little bit more control, right? Look at look at how this pattern is actually being created. These are interlocking. They're like little lotus leaves or something like that sort of interspersed over there. They're not little soldiers like this.
I know, I'm having trouble doing it.
You're having trouble
another go.
seeing it. You're having trouble seeing it and then
No,
recreating it.
I'm having trouble kind of taking a shortcut.
I would struggle. Yes, because you're tired, probably.
No,
That's
no,
like
it's
a lot.
because I never managed to. I either try to do everything, or else I try to take a shortcut and it looks terrible.
Well, there's not that much here. There's like 15 probably scales here. So it's not like there's a ton of scales. Pay a little attention to the pattern and see if you can spend more time with that pattern.
Are there any tips for making, maybe it's just the medium, but making the white spots more white? Like I just can't erase.
Yeah, no, there's only so much. Get
Okay.
one of these.
All right.
Get one of these.
Okay.
They're fantastic. Because then you really can kind of get in there. You can also take your eraser and put it into a point. So sometimes putting it
Yeah.
into this fine point,
Okay.
right, like this, will help you get a little bit lighter. I'm just going to a place where I haven't sprayed. But yeah, there's only so like, it'll help more to go darker around the edges. It'll help more. Good questions. And Sandra, he's looking a lot better, by the way. So don't lose heart. Your struggle is valid and it's having results. Even if it's
Huh?
not exactly what you want, you're getting somewhere. I like it. I know it's really easy to look at this pattern and go, oh, I'm overwhelmed by it. I didn't do all of it, but I did the sort of areas that I could see first, and then I didn't have to do so much of the whole thing.
I'm having trouble
Just
controlling
love
the
the look.
eraser.
I have
Oh, I
a
love
dumb.
it, Diana.
Ah,
I love it, Diana.
oh, thank you.
Hey, Sandra, can I ask you a question? Do these scales like pop up off the leg? Do they push up like this, or do they lay flat?
Well, they lay flat.
Just,
I mean,
I'm
as
just
opposed to,
right, like sticking up, right? Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, they look like
I
they're
think-
kind of,
you can feel
layering.
them, but they lay flat, they're soft.
they're soft. These are soft.
I mean, the skin is soft.
oh my God, I'm just fascinated by this texture. I just am like, oh, it's just so.
I don't know whether there are situations in which she could raise them. I don't think so.
Right. Can you see over here, Sandra? So I had that issue where I sprayed, and I can't really get much more detail in here. But if I wanted to, I can go back in with my dark now, right? And kind of sketch around. I can get more dark to kind of push those shapes out a little bit. So see how I'm kind of coming in here, lightening it just a little bit. So I can go back in with my dark. Oh, Hermes, stop it. Here, hold on.
Oh, I can hear my new wind chime.
Oh, are you happy with it?
I love you.
Yes, but it's smaller than I thought. Well, no, I have two. I have two new ones. A big metal one outside,
Yeah.
and it sounds lovely. I don't know whether the neighbor's going to complain. And then a new one that I put on my deck. And it's actually, I might need to restore the old one because this one is actually smaller than I thought. Very difficult to measure them. It always sounds, you know, they say like 34 inches and you think, my God, that's like enormous. But in fact, it isn't, because they include everything. Très bon, we have a fly, where is he?
Wow, it's already almost 10.
Yeah.
I'm happy to keep, I have to get going at 10, but I'm happy to keep if somebody wants to be the host, you guys can keep going. It's up to you.
Today, I think I need to go, otherwise I would.
Okay.
There is only so much patience I can have with this thing.
I think it's better than you think it is. Oh, Nancy, yeah.
I'm having trouble with the face, though. I don't know
Yeah,
what to do with
it's
the
hard to
mouth.
get. The truth is the base is small and there's only so much. I would push this shape of light, and then I would get rid of this white line that you have here all the way around and kind of darken this whole shape so that you have that sort of lost edge. I think that's going to help. And then go around with the edge of your charcoal and darken around the face in certain areas. So here,
gotcha,
for example, here. So work around the face and you're going to have a better time. But trust me, it's not like super intuitive or easy. I really struggled with this too.
It's
Yeah.
hard when you start with the erasing to then get rid of those white lines a bit.
Yeah, just, you know how you do it? You just
Just
scribble
cover
over
back
it.
over. Yeah.
Or you
That'll
take your
help.
finger. It's easier to get rid of those lines than it is to get rid of a
Oh.
pencil line,
Before
right?
you
Like,
go,
so think
sorry.
about it like that.
Okay, sorry, before you go, I was hoping you could suggest like a charcoal pencil to buy.
Oh, yeah, I like the, what do I have here? This is the General's charcoal. It's a
Okay.
soft charcoal pencil. I'm gonna take a picture of it and send it across.
Yeah, cool.
It's good to have as an extra tool, but also really, this thing is like $12.
Really? Okay.
It's great. I would, so I'm gonna take a picture of both of these things. This is the Derwent electric eraser. And you'll love, I think you'll feel a lot, you'll be like, oh my God, now these are the tools I need. Here, let me get a picture of it. And then here, I'm not going yet. I want to see everybody's, I want to,
Okay.
don't worry. I'm not going to leave you until I feel like I'm leaving you in a good place. I think this is upside down here. Hold on.
What did you say? Were you at a Seder last night? Is that where you were?
Yeah, we threw a Seder at my house.
Oh, how was it?
It was amazing. It
What did you
was,
say? Happy Pesach.
yes. Chag
What
Sameach.
do you do at the Seder?
Oh, it's the best Jewish holiday of the year. You have a service to talk about the exodus of the Jews from Egypt. It says, so you have a lot of debates about free. So there's a service, you read in Hebrew, you read in English, you bring up concepts and ideas about freedom and blah, blah, blah. You talk about the story. People read and debate. It's funny because you serve a meal, but you start by talking about all the symbols of Passover. And what they mean, and the story of Passover, what it means, and just getting a bunch of Jews together. Oh my fucking God, that nobody shuts up. nobody, everybody's like, we're all like talking over each other. And well, do you intellectually think this means this? And blah, 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 blah. So it's really kind of an amazing holiday, but very chaotic.
Do you use a traditional Haggadah?
No,
do
we
you-
use the Freedom Haggadah. Are you
Okay.
Jewish?
No, I'm not. But for years, I went to a Seder with friends in Seattle who had written their own Haggadah.
Yeah, that's a very this part of the world kind of thing.
Yeah,
to
it
do.
is.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah,
wonderful. I loved the Seders. They were so meaningful and just fun.
Aren't
Really
they
wonderful.
great? Like people
Yeah.
are kind of, it's like a, I like to say Jews have an invitation to argument,
Yeah.
meaning it's part of Jewish culture to debate, right? Like what is like to ask questions and then debate them. And that's the holiday where you really get to experience it. And you could see everybody who was there was like, hadn't done this in so long, it'd been 3 years. So we were like, people were very excited and very opinionated.
So do you have, is this the beginning of Passover or the end or neither?
It's the very beginning this year.
Okay, is that the traditional time to have a Seder?
I mean, yeah, at the beginning of the holiday, although it changes every year because, the Jewish holidays are on a different calendar.
And how long does this holiday last?
It's technically 8 days, but really most people just celebrate it one. So some people will have Seders tonight. We had ours on the first night. Technically, you could have your.
But you don't shut off from the world.
No. Not unless you're Orthodox, but that's just a normal. I mean, no, you just have a Seder. You don't eat leavened bread. Technically, you're not supposed to eat leavened bread, but I mean, really, it's about talking about, it's a great holiday because it's about the symbolism, talking about what this ancient story of the Jews leaving Egypt and the 10 plagues and what that impact has on us today. That's really what it's about. It's about understanding that history so that we don't forget it, but also, and if you're all my Jewish friends are like totally pro-Palestine and, so they're, we're all like, hey, let's talk about freedom for everyone.
This kind of an interesting subject to have with Jewish friends. I mean, different
groups are different about it, right? My friends are all like very clear.
Some people cannot talk about it.
Yeah, So what really pisses me off is the ones that are against it just can't talk about it. Like they don't want to talk about it because they don't want to deal with being an oppressor. Like they want to talk about the story of the oppressed.
Right,
how oppressed
exactly.
the Jewish people are without in any, and what, as my friend Carol said last night, what she has learned is that just because somebody abuses you doesn't mean that you've learned the lesson that abuse is bad.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
a pretty profound point. Yeah.
It is very profound, right? Like, and when you look at the whole, and it's in the Jewish community, it's really annoying how sort of obstinate Jews, some Jewish factions are. My dad's a little bit like that. You know, he's very World War II baby.
Well, that would shape a person
It
for
would
sure.
shapes a person, right? So he's very much. Oh, Marcy. Yeah. Great work today, you guys.
Lily should send yours.
Yeah, Lily, send yours. I want to see yours. You guys, these are great.
She said no, but I'm going to try to encourage her to do it anyway.
I think it's awesome.
Good shadow of a turtle.
It's okay, Lily. It's kind of it's a constant work in progress, right? So you may not always feel totally satisfied with the result, but I can see that you guys are employing the principles. Oh, he's great. I love it. So you know what I would do? Just add these little triangles of dark here.
Oh, yeah.
And in here. I think you'll like this a lot better. Nancy, yeah, you got it.
Better.
You guys, these are
better. Thanks for those suggestions. Much better.
These are great. Sandra, I want to see your guy. One more time. Are you still working on him? Because I was really liking where he was going. This is great.
Yeah.
Your girl. I'm sorry, I keep calling her a guy. She's not a guy, she's a girl. I love you.
Well, if Sandra calls her a he,
Guy.
then you are excused.
Yes. But
Good
I
points.
can't stop staring at that little intense face with the little smile up. Come on. I don't know why it's taking so long, Sandra. Hold on, it's coming through. You know what, Sandra? Even blurry, I can already tell it's looking better.
Oh, sorry, I was on mute. I sent it.
I know it's taking a minute to come through. I don't know why, at least on my end.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know why it's taking so long. Here we go. Oh, for some reason, it's a big file.
Guess as you do want.
Oh, wait,
Oh,
there it is.
really?
There it is. Oh, Diana, he's wonderful. I love it. I think it's turning out great. I know what's bothering you.
Yeah.
I want you to take
I
a
know.
look at here. I'm going to show you that picture because I've got it right here. The shape, this needs to be a little bit darker.
Yeah.
And you also need to address the shape of it. And look at the skinniness of here. It's a little hard to see here.
I reshaped it because the negative space didn't pan out.
But I think what's bothering you is this, what's happening kind
Yeah.
of here.
Yeah.
So you'll
my
see
gosh.
this leg is coming into the body,
Yeah.
right? And you have it kind of sticking on the
Yeah,
outside
yeah.
edge of the body.
Yeah. I see.
But other than that, and then I think the other thing to do is once again, glaze it dark.
Yeah.
So that you're kind of unify all these
Yeah,
beautiful colors a little bit and you get the bottom. I love this green that you've got here, the sort of colors that you're muting. So now it's just this question of darkening,
Okay.
getting this shaped correctly and then darkening this with maybe like a phthalo blue or something.
Okay.
Right? Or something that will really push the blues, but also
Mhm.
push back all these great colors, these purple, it'll sort of unify these purples and all
Yeah.
that thing.
And
But you're
what
closer than you
about the
think.
background?
I won't really, the background could be a little darker.
Yeah.
But I don't really know until you get the sides, the dark and the light side of the turtle. When you get the dark side and the light side established, it's going to be easier to see what to do with the
Yeah.
background.
Okay.
Yeah. Does
Hey,
that make
Leah,
sense?
I just want to say thank you. Gosh, I feel like you know, like I was so frustrated. I had to erase my whole thing and start over again. And I just
Look
think
how
you just really inspire me to kind of stick with it. So I really appreciate that.
Yay. Well, Nancy, I appreciate you guys. Your household did great over here. Your household
we
did
had fun.
wonderful.
Thanks
Yeah.
for welcoming Lily so nicely.
Oh, yeah, of course, anytime. And we'll see you guys next week. And remember that tomorrow there's a class. So there's not a class, but there's a free session from
Atelier.
2:30 to 5:30, I think East Coast time. You can come onto the same Zoom link and just work on something. So if you want to keep working on your drawing, you can join. There will be other people from the class. If you're not doing Easter stuff, you're welcome to jump in.
Just like studio time, kind of?
Yeah, like studio
Oh, cool.
time, but with company.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I'll send a note out to remind everybody on this channel. Great work, everyone.
Bye, thanks, Lee.
Wonderful work. I'll see
Bye,
some of you
everyone.
tomorrow. Take care.
Bye.
Francesca made it back. Yay. See you later, guys. Great work today.